Hey, what's up, fight fans? Will back once again for another fight card prediction, and we're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 130 or UFC Liverpool from the Echo Arena down in Liverpool. Really looking forward to the fact that the UFC are going to Liverpool. I think it's long overdue, and they've got themselves a great main event here for the first show in Liverpool with their very own Darren Till headlining the show against Wonderboy Stephen Thompson. Coming off another fairly decent week from Chile last week, I went 9-4. Bet didn't go too well. I did have a good bet on Benitez that came through. I had a Felipe Silva who I cannot believe lost that fight from the position he was in. I had him parlayed with Vicente Luque, and then I bet Diego Rivas, which was a really bad bet on my part. So I lose a night, but I'm hoping it kind of turns around here and I can change it all back around again. As always, if you can please like, comment, subscribe. We're only like 117 away now from hitting that 2,000 mark, which I tried to get at the start of the year. So we're not too far off. So if you can help me with that, it'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're going to be in Liverpool this week, by all means, come and say hi. I'm going to be down there from Thursday afternoon till Monday morning. So if you would like to meet up, talk some fights, and by all means, I'm going to be there. It seems to be a thing when we've got some British cards. I always run into people who watch my videos, so it's pretty awesome. If you see me, come say hello, and we can always talk some fights. Overall evaluation of the card, I actually think it's a very, very, very weak card, being honest with you. There's a couple of fights on there I'm looking forward to. Got it that Gunnar Nelson's out of his fight with Neil Magny. Got it that David Tamer got taken off the card and moved to the one after this on Friday night, which makes no sense to me. They should have kept him on there. Nathaniel Wood, who is fighting on that card as well, I think should have been on this card. So I'm a little bit disappointed with the card there. I think it's weak, but I think it can make for a lot of good matchups. So yeah, let's get into it. Women's bantamweight division. First couple of fights here is kind of weak. Gina Mazany against Lina Landsberg. Two girls who are at the lower totem pole of that bantamweight division without a shadow of a doubt. Mazany's coming off a win over Wishan Yu. Landsberg's coming off a loss to Aspen Ladd, where she got stopped in the second round. And Landsberg, to me, is one that just takes an awful lot of damage. It's someone that if you can control against the fence or even just be the quicker fighter, you can beat her up pretty badly. Cyborg did it, which is going to happen. Lucy Pudilova did it in London as well, put an absolute beating, yet she still got the win there, very surprisingly. And then Aspen Ladd kind of really had a way with her. Honestly, it's a fight it's a coin flip fight for me. I only watched a couple of these girls' fights, and it was more than enough to determine that it's a really, really tough fight to watch and to really get into. I'm going to pick Gina Mazany. I think she's a little bit younger. I think she's a little bit more powerful of a grappler as well. I think she can maybe get the fight to the ground. I think that's where she can control large aspects of this fight here. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to pick Gina Mazany here via a decision. Not overly confident, if I'm being honest with you. Moving on, middleweight division. Now, I'll put my hands up with this, guys. I said after the last fight that Elias had that I will never watch tape on this guy ever again. And it's something that I'm kind of going to stick to. And his opponent is a guy that you don't really want to watch too much tape on either. Trevor Smith's a grinder. Elias is a bit of a grinding fighter as well, looking to just kind of dictate the pace on the feet, but it's just that he's a horrible fighter to watch. The one thing I do like about Elias is he's got a half decent kicking game, which he uses to his advantage. He has fought the better caliber opposition. I mean, Trevor Smith's best win in the UFC is Chris Camozzi, who's not even there anymore. When you've got someone like Elias who's fought like a Dan Kelly who's tough, and Brad Tavares who's tough, Mutante who's a tough fighter as well, Thiago Santos, he's fought decent fighters. I just think his skill set is horrible to watch. Trevor Smith, on the other hand, is another guy whose skill set is not all that exciting to watch either. Coming off that win over Chris Camozzi last time out, Joe Gilotti was another one of his wins. He's a fairly decent wrestler. That's where he looks to take it. I don't think he's going to have that much opportunity to get the fight to the ground. I think if he does, I can see Elias popping back up. Elias is quite light in his feet, and he does suckle off a little bit. I just don't think that Trevor Smith has all that many weapons that can really hurt someone like Elias, Theodorou. But honestly, it's a fight I really, honestly, couldn't give two shits about. I'm going to pick Elias. I just think he's going to win more rounds just with his output. I think he stops the takedown. I think he can maybe beat up in the clinch a little bit. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Trevor Smith came out here and maybe got himself a decision win if he can establish a takedown game and control Elias a little bit. But I find it hard to believe that. So Elias Theodorou by decision. Moving on to the main card, starting off in the women's flyweight division with Liverpool's own Molly Meatball McCann making a UFC debut, former Cage Warriors champion, as she faces off against Gillian Robertson here. Now, if some of you aren't too familiar with Molly McCann, like I said, she's from Liverpool. She was a Cage Warriors champion, and so she's another one of those fighters that's making her way over to the UFC, like many Cage Warriors fighters seem to do nowadays. And she's against Gillian Robertson here, who I think she's a young girl. She's going to be the smaller fighter here. But I think she's got a few skills that could possibly make this a really tough night for Molly McCann. All the pressure here is on Molly McCann without a shadow of a doubt. And she's had that in her previous fights when she fought Bryony Tyrell, who she really shouldn't be in there with. She's been away for a long time. She's a natural 115er, and Molly just brutalised her. Before that, she fought Priscilla Souza, I think it was. She came in there heavy and came in there in like a week's notice, I believe it was, flying all the way from South America to Liverpool. And Souza had decent parts of that fight where she hurt her, got some takedowns, grappled with her a little bit, and had I think she maybe took a round off her, if I remember right. And then in the fight with Lacey Schuchman, she got dropped by a counter shot. She got taken down in that fight, and Lacey Schuchman gave her a hell of a fight before kind of gassing out. And the one thing with Molly McCann is she'll come forward and she'll stand and she'll look to trade with you. That's the one thing I'll worry about here with Gillian Robertson. If it goes late, she could maybe flag a little bit and maybe Molly could come into it. Gillian Robertson's coming off that loss, that win, against Emily Whitmire, where she caught with a beautiful arm lock. I mean, she got a takedown. Whitmire was trying to move forward into a better position and got caught with an arm lock, and she was screaming before she could even tap. It was a beautiful, beautiful submission. I'm liking Gillian Robertson here for a kind of upset when, like I say, I think McCann, she's a brawler. She comes forward. I do think there's aspects of her game that you can exploit. Now, maybe someone like Gillian Robertson's not that fighter, but I'm willing to take a shot on someone like Gillian Robertson here with no pressure, coming in here where Molly, I'm telling you now, Molly's going to have so much pressure just watching her old Cage Warriors fights. A lot of fans there. And there is holes in her game. Can Gillian exploit that? Maybe, maybe not. I'm willing to take a shot on her and see if she can maybe catch her with something. If it goes late, I worry that maybe Molly's kind of brutalising shots. Not that she puts people away, really, but that they can acclimatise through the fight and can really hurt her late on. So I'm going to go Gillian Robertson via submission. Maybe late round one, early round two. It's a bit of a bold pick, that one. I'm going out on the limb a little bit. Like the fact also she comes from American Top Team, so she's probably sparring with really, really good people out there, and she'll be progressing every camp. And plus, she's had the experience of being in the tough show. She lost to Bob Honchak, and she hasn't got the pressure here. So that's where I'm going to take a shot on Gillian Robertson to win the fight there. Moving on, welterweight division, we have Brad Scott against Carlo Pedersoli Jr., another guy making his way over from Cage Warriors, who had a really good fight with Nicholas Dalby a few weeks back at Cage Warriors 93, I think it was, in Sweden. And this guy's a bag of tricks. Pedersoli is a bag of tricks. A lot of kicks, crescent kicks, axe kicks. He caught Dalby with a beautiful high kick that literally slapped him in the chin, put him down, tried to follow up. Dalby, being the tough fighter he is, stuck it out, made it a great fight. I thought he won. It was a split decision. I kind of have it a little bit more of a decisive win for Pedersoli there. But he's a guy that kind of came to my attention about a year ago when he fought in Veneto. He's from Italy. So yeah, he's a guy that I think, like I say, he's a bag of tricks. He goes out there, he can throw flying triangles, flying arm bars. I've seen that in previous fights. So you don't know what to get. He's a southpaw as well, so he's got a beautiful long straight left that he can use. I just think he's a really solid fighter to add to the welterweight division. Don't like the fact that he is coming off a rough fight against Nicholas Dalby, and it is on short notice, so it's a tough one for him. Brad, this guy's had a lot of bad luck with fights getting pulled on fight day. Like the week before, his fights are getting pulled off cards, and overall, he's a solid-ish fighter. There's nothing that really stands out with Brad Scott. He's just a tough guy, coming off a loss to Jack Hermanson last year in Mexico, and then obviously had the 2 fights fall off. I don't know where his head's at either. He was struggling for money. The UFC gave him some of his show money, I think it was. Reebok gave him some money as well, rightly so in my opinion. But I don't know where his head was at. Like this, when I heard earlier on this week that Salim Touare pulled out of the fight, he said he didn't want to fight, and then 2 days later we heard that he's against Carlo Pedersoli here. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Carlo Pedersoli here. I think he's got a more well-rounded game. The only worry I have is just the aspect of a fight a few weeks ago, where it was a brutal fight. He took some shots, he took a couple of high kicks, a lot of work. Dalby tried to get him to the ground, so it might have been a tiring thing, but he has got a lot of confidence after that win. And yeah, I expect him to give Brad Scott a really tough fight here. So I'm going to go Carlo Pedersoli to win via a decision there. Middleweight division with Dan Kelly against Tom Breese. This is a big fight for Tom Breese to see where he's at. He's a big middleweight. He was a big welterweight when he first came into UFC, and he showed that in that fight. I think it was Louis Dutra. I think he had a beautiful knockout with his hands, and then he lost to Sean Strickland. He had that win over Keita Nakamura, which was very controversial, I think. But he is a talent. He's a guy that I've always liked watching from over here in the UK. Went to TriStar now, and then came back, and he's predominantly doing his camp in the UK, I think, full time now. So interesting to see him come back here. He came back after a really bad injury. I think he had surgery on, I can't remember, it was maybe his ACL, I think, went, and he had to get really big surgery to get that fixed, and the recovery. So it's nearly, I think, coming on 2 years in June that this guy's not fought. And I think he's got a very tough matchup here against Dan Kelly, who is never an easy fight for anybody. Not unless you've got big power and you can get him quick. If you give this guy opportunities to stick around in the fight, he can make it a really bad fight for you late on. So it's something that Tom Breese needs to be careful with. I don't think he's going to get Dan Kelly to the ground, so he's going to have to predominantly rely on his striking. Because if you get in close to Dan Kelly, he can throw you anywhere. He's got that judo background. He's got really weird striking as well. But he is 40 years old. He has shown signs. He's maybe decided he's kind of coming off that, coming into decline a little bit. Big fight for Tom Breese here. If he can't beat someone like Dan Kelly, it's a long road back to being anything like a kind of hype prospect that he was when he was coming out of the UK over here. I'm going to pick Tom Breese. I think he catches Dan Kelly with a shot in the first 2 rounds and puts him down via TKO there. So Tom Breese for the win there. Claudio Silva against Nordine Taleb is the main fight of the FS1 prelims there. Claudio Silva, I totally forgot this guy was still in the UFC, and this is the guy that holds a win. His last win, three and a half years ago, a long ass time ago, against Leon Rocky Edwards, and that's a good win to have in your resume nowadays. 3 years later after you faced him, and before that he beat Brad Scott. Solid fighter. One thing that stands out, he's got a really bad gas tank. He had a bad gas tank 3-4 years ago. Now he's 36 years old. I don't expect that to be any better at this point. And he's against someone who's a little bit of a specimen in Nordine Taleb, who doesn't seem to tire. Got a really good physique, really good game, actually. I think he's a really solid fighter coming out of TriStar, and he's got some power when he shows it. And when he catches you with the right shot, he does put you out. Like that finish of Danny Roberts was sick. It was a really, really good finish. Honestly, not unless Claudio Silva can get himself to the ground here and establish that jiu-jitsu that he has, I think that Nordine Taleb's just going to be too much on the feet. I think he's going to pivot off, catch him with some shots. Can he finish him if he decides to wear out late in the fight? Absolutely, I think he can. So I'm going to go Nordine Taleb. I'm going to pick him decision or TKO. I'll go decision for Nordine Taleb there. Moving on to the FS1 main card here. We're starting off in middleweight division. Eric Spicely against Darren Stewart. I'm really surprised that Darren Stewart is actually Still in the UFC, three losses in a row, and I've just did my own podcast then with my huddle there, and my good man John, who interviewed him, as well as many other people in this card, your Jason Knights and your Arnold Allens and Craig Whites and so on. He signed a new contract, which was a little bit of a weird one for me, considering he's lost 3 in a row. So do or die fight here for him. I think this is Eric Spicely's last fight in his contract, so he's going to want to make an impression to try and get a contract sent his way. Darren Stewart coming off a really fun fight with Julian Marquez, where Marquez is just a tough guy. But it was a really fun fight to go back and watch. I kind of forgot about that fight from last year or early this year. But it was a really decent, solid fight. Shown that he's got a little bit of incapabilities on the ground. We saw Carl Robertson get him down there. I think that someone like Spicely, that's his main aspect here. His striking's not all that good. Never really has been, but he does have a decent submission game. Heavy on top. Goes for the single legs a lot. And it's got a lot of variations to get takedowns from that single leg. If Darren Stewart can ultimately stop the single leg takedowns, all the takedowns, and not have Spicely on him, I think he could win this fight. It's another one of these fights I could flip a coin and just go heads for Spicely, tails for Stewart, and whatever it lands on, it lands on. Honestly, I'm struggling with that one. I'm least confident pick. I'm going to go Eric Spicely via sub, because we've seen Darren Stewart struggle with people on top a little bit. So I'm going to go Eric Spicely in that one there. Bantamweight division, we've got Davey Grant against Manny Bermudez. Davey Grant, another guy I totally forgot about that he's even fighting in the UFC. A lot of people on this card have not fought in a long time. It seems to be a recurring theme. I had that last week as well with a couple of fighters in the Chile card. But yeah, Davey Grant, I think he's predominantly done his card over in SBG Ireland. And yeah, we haven't seen him since that loss. I think it was UFC 204 to Damien Stasiak. Yeah, UFC 204. So he's been out a year and a half as well. His win before that was Marlon Chito Vera, which I think is a good win on your record. But back in the Ultimate Fighter, the guy was a really good fighter on that show. Showed a lot of talent, a lot of promise. But since then, really, that's 2000. He lost to Chris Holdwell in the finale, 2013. So 4.5 years ago, and he's only had a couple of fights. Wow. Lots of injuries obviously have taken place with that one there. He's had fights fall out that he was supposed to have gotten. And I think on the feet here, he definitely holds a definitive advantage over Manny Bermudez, even though I don't think he's great on the feet. I think he's just the more crisper striker, more output. I think he's decent on the ground, but I think that Manny Bermudez is a really solid fighter, getting you to the ground and just pinpointing movements on the ground so you can move your opponent to get the submissions. I thought he showed that in the fight with Albert Morales, but I did think his striking's got a lot of improvements. I think it's got a lot that it can really go up notches. If he can get that in order with his ground game, his jiu-jitsu game, and his control game, I think he could be a dangerous fighter in the bantamweight division. Ultimately, I see the fight. I can see Davey having some success early on, but I can see Manny finding a way to get this to the ground. And the thing is with that, can Davey stick around long enough to where Manny Bermudez doesn't catch him with something? I think Manny's the better fighter once it hits the ground there. So I'm going to go Manny Bermudez via second round submission, via rear naked choke or a choke of some aspect, a triangle choke, wherever you like. But I'm going to pick Bermudez via submission there. This is a great fight. This could be a really fun fight. Jason Knight against Makwan Amirkhani. When Makwan came into the UFC, he had kind of a lot of hype coming out of Europe. Just by the way, he kind of run his mouth a little bit, and his performances early on really showed that he was a dangerous guy. You can't take this guy lightly. But I think he's petered out a little bit, and the guy just doesn't fight. He fights like once a year, and he's not staying out to injuries either. He's just staying out because he doesn't want to fight all that much. Predominantly, he's done this his whole entire camp here at SBG Ireland. He was kind of going back and forward for the last couple of fights there. Had a really actually fun fight against Arnold Allen the last time he did fight, well over a year ago in London. I just thought Arnold Allen was the better fighter overall in that one. I thought that when I was watching the tape. I still think that, and I think he was the better fighter. Jason Knight he's kind of got a redemption. This is the redemption fight here, because I never thought I'd actually see him like with a 3-fight losing streak after he showed some signs after the Dan Hooker win, the Chaz Scaly win. I thought he might have gave Ricardo Lamas a bit of a fight, but literally went in there with really bad defense and got caught and got taken out. And then the Gabriel Benitez fight, it looked to me like he didn't show up. But in saying that, I think Gabriel Benitez is a really, really good fighter in that division, underestimated by a lot of people, and he showed that last night with that slam KO of Bandanai, that he's got a lot of skills and a lot of progression in that division. I've heard people say he was injured going into that fight, he had something wrong with his throat. Still, I think Benitez just totally outclassed him. But the wins over Chaz Scaly and people like Dan Hooker, I think, are legit wins. So he's beaten good fighters. I just think he's got too much in the feet for Makwan Amirkhani. As long as he doesn't get caught in like a trading war, maybe Makwan catches him with something out of nowhere. I think that overall, he's a better fighter on the feet. I think on the ground, he is dangerous in a lot of aspects. If you leave something in there, he will catch you in that submission and he will put you to sleep. Or he will put you in a position where he's beating upon you. I'm more confident in picking Jason Knight here. I think there's a big comeback fight for him to get another win in the column and get back into that winning rhythm again. So I'm going to pick him to finish. No, I'm going to pick him via decision in that one there. A little bit. I'm going to go decision. I've got a funny feeling that he might just show up and he might do something to Makwan, but I'll go decision I'll go decision. I made my mind up decision. Featherweight division, staying in there, we've got Arnold Allen against Mads Burnell. I'm going to come out and say something I said last week, and it came back to bite me in the ass a little bit. I said that Felipe Silva was kind of easy money, and he was for two and a half rounds before being an absolute D-bag and going into the wheelhouse where Perez could only win the fight after beating upon him for like 12 and a half minutes. I think this is a mismatch here, and I think Arnold Allen, if the line is right, is a really good bet this week. Mads Burnell, he showed last time out that he might not even be able to make the 145 limit. He came in at 150 there, struggled with that weight cut, and he says he doesn't know whether he can make featherweight, and yet he's trying again to get down there. So interesting to see if he kills himself to make 145. I think Arnold Allen's more crisp. I think he's faster. He's more accurate. He's got better angles on his feet, throws from better angles. Mads Burnell is one to come out and pit him against the cage and try and take him down and kind of learn him and use his jiu-jitsu. That's kind of his main strength, is his jiu-jitsu. He's coming off a kind of underdog win over Mike Santiago. Everybody was on Mike Santiago saying, Mads Burnell's this, Mads Burnell's a bum, And he came out there and just absolutely won the fight, in my opinion, and just controlled the fight, put him on the ground and controlled him. I don't think he can do that with Arnold Allen. I think he's just a little bit too athletic for Mads Burnell. I think he can stop any takedowns that come his way. I think he can beat him up as well. So I'm actually going to go Arnold Allen via TKO early, round number 3 in that one. Co-main event, this sucks for the simple reason that it should have been Gunnar Nelson. Neil Magny against the incoming Craig White, another addition from the Cage Warriors welterweight division. We'll start off with the newcomer, Craig White. Really happy he got the chance to come to the UFC. Honestly, didn't expect it when I heard that Gunny was out a couple of weeks ago. I was surprised that someone like Masvidal never came in, or they never got a better opponent. No disrespect to Craig, but someone who's established in the UFC, and I thought they would have got someone like that in. They left it a little bit late, and Craig got the call up there, so fair play to the guy. Craig's a guy that I've been watching for a long, long time in Cage Warriors. I think he's got a 14-7 record, so he's been out there, he's had his losses, he's learned from it, and now he's in the best run of his career. He's been stopping dudes in the Cage Warriors division as well. Like, once he gets you hurt, he swarms on you. He did it with Matt Inman. He caught him with a shot, put him against the cage, and absolutely started raining shots upon him. Hakam Foss was a beautiful submission in the first round. Montanani, he did that in his last fight. He caught a really nice choke in the second round after kind of been on his back majority of the first as well, looking for that submission. There is definitely holes in his game. I see holes in his game. People take him down, people trip him. Neil Magny, I think, is a good exponent of using trips. We've seen it in the Gastelum fight. We've seen it in the Condit fight as well. And I just think this is a big step up in 10 to 12 days' notice. Obviously, I would love to see someone like Craig White come in here, shock the world, get a massive, massive win. But I think Neil Magny is just a solid professional, like a really solid guy with some really solid wins as well. So, plus, he's doing a really good thing here with his fight pass. He's given like $15,000 of his fight pass to a charity as well. So I always love stuff like that. I think there was a GoFundMe on his Twitter page there if you want to go and help out. The guy loses to good fighters. He got kind of smashed by Lawrence Larkin, got smashed by Rafael dos Anjos, but he does beat decent fighters as well. And he's came a hell of a long way from the Ultimate Fighter days where he looked. He didn't look great, but he's came full circle and he's made himself a top 10 welterweight in the UFC, and he's got himself a matchup here where I think he can make himself look good. Just be careful if he does go to the ground with Craig White. He can catch you in some submissions, so it's something he has to be careful with. But White's a very aggressive guy, so this could be a fun fight. I just think Magny is the more classier fighter, and we'll find a way to possibly finish this fight. I'm going to go Neil Magny via submission. Round number 2, I think. Yeah. And the main event of the night. This is a really fun fight, a really hard one to break down. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Darren Till. Darren Till. 5 fights in the UFC's second main event. In his hometown, he's brought the UFC to Liverpool. Crazy, crazy run that the guy's been on his short UFC stint. Now, I'll put my hand up. I've not been on the bandwagon of Darren Till. A lot of people have over here in the UK. They're hyping this guy up. It's the next big thing coming out of here, and I'm not on that bandwagon. I'll be completely honest with you. Even though I do see some of his skill set as being elite, with some of his timing, with his elbows, his stepping elbows, beautiful, beautiful shots, dangerous, dangerous striker. We've seen the footage of the sparring coming out where he's been hurting people. It looked a little bit brutal, if I'm being honest with you, but that's what happens, I suppose, in sparring. I must admit, I didn't really like seeing it, but that's just me. Everybody's different. I think there's different ways you could go about it. And that's the way Kaibon do that thing. They go hard in their sparring. Beating Donald Cerrone last time out, absolutely. I don't want to discredit him for that one, because it is a really good win when you beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone at any time. I just think that, and I think Donald's come out and said himself, he never watched anything in this guy, didn't know who he was. And he got made to pay in that one by eating a massive elbow and getting taken out there. I think he's got himself a really good matchup here against Wonderboy Thompson. The way I kind of see the fight going, we'll talk about Wonderboy. Like, Wonderboy, I think, is one of those guys with the elite skill set, but it's a hard skill set to really do well against, because he can literally keep it distance and point fight you from an absolute mile out, and use really good quick combination shots and can accumulate points here. Now, I think he's going to have to do that a lot if he wants to really throw Darren Till off his momentum, because the guy has got a lot of momentum. He's coming in here. The one thing that scares me with, I'll say it now, I'm picking Wonderboy Thompson. It's a fight I see either really late for Wonderboy, where he dominates with his point fighting, or the first 5 to 7 minutes. Darren Till's he says he's going to knock him out inside 2 rounds. The one thing that kind of scares me with Darren Till, and it's the same with the Conor McGregor thing, they say things and they see things and it's already in their head, and they promise they're going to do it. That's scary to me. Like a mentality of a fighter, they believe they're going to do it, and they go out there and do it. And Conor did it. Darren Till's done it to this extent. When I go back and watch the Darren Till's fights in the UFC, I was in Dublin against Nicholas Dalby. I thought he got hurt with some big shots, got countered with some big shots, showed some heart in the 3rd round because I think he did something to his shoulder. The fight with Bojan Veljković, I thought he was very controlled majority of the fight, but there was spots in that fight where Bojan Veljković hurt him. Leg kicks were accumulating. He caught him with some beautiful counter strikes. Again, I thought Darren did fight really well, but was a little bit too. I think he could have been a little bit more patient. Not patient. I think he could have come forward and threw a little bit more. That's what I'm trying to say. Throw more output. he kind of sat back a little bit, try to pick his shots and try and get that one hitter quitter, like he did with the big elbow in the first round. I just think if he throws more output, like we've seen in the sparring videos, which again I don't like, but he goes out there and he's got really fast hands. He's a massive dude. You see the change in his physique from it when he first went to UFC to now. He is huge, and he's going to be a big middleweight when he goes up there one day as well. Good kicks. It's just an interesting fight to me. When I first heard this, I was on Wonderboy Thompson, and I'm going to stick with that pick. I'm going to pick him to win via decision. But like I say, I think a lot of people are going to be betting Darren Till also. He's an underdog. I see the lines actually coming closer. So I might bet Wonderboy Thompson if the line gets close to maybe him being a dog, which I doubt it will be, but it might be a slight favourite. But like I say, Darren Till early, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson late. I just think that Wonderboy he's shown me that he's been through the hard parts of fights. He's got that adversity where he got hurt by Tyron Woodley and he survived, and he showed that he still wanted to go, and he had the grit to try and win that fight. So that shows me a lot about the heart of a fighter, and he's just got a skill set that's really hard to fight against. But I think this is the two best strikers in that division. So it's just an interesting fight. I mean, the roof's going to get blown off the Echo Arena when Darren Till makes his way to the octagon. It's going to be a spectacle. I'm looking forward to being in there just to see the atmosphere of him making his way to the octagon. I'm probably going to catch some shit. I think a lot of the Scousers are very, very proud of their fighters, and rightly so. They're completely behind Darren Till, and I can see why you are. I'm the same with my homegrown fighters and some of the ones from Europe as well. I get a little bit too caught up. I'm just a fan like a majority of you guys. But if Darren Till comes out and does what he's been doing like what he did to Cerrone, and does it against the number one guy outside the champion in this division, then I need to kind of sit back and take stock of why I didn't see this coming a long time ago, because the signs are there. But I just think that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is a tough fight here, and I'm going to pick him to win a decision in Liverpool. So that's my picks for UFC Liverpool. Again, if I'm in Liverpool from Thursday, if you're going to be there, please come and say hi. I'm always there to talk fights. We can have a couple of beers and we can talk some fights. Because I always seem to meet up with some of you guys when I go to these events. So yeah. Until next week, we're back for, I think it's Utica, Jimmy Rivera against Marlon Moraes. I've already been watching some of those fights. It's on a Friday night, so I don't know when I'm going to get my video out. It's probably going to be next Monday. I'm back from Liverpool on the Monday, so I've already, like I said, I've been watching some fights, and I will watch some before I go to Liverpool. Probably watch some in Liverpool as well. So until next week, if I see you in Liverpool, enjoy the card. If you're watching at home, enjoy the card on the Sunday, which is something else you need to look out for. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care and enjoy the fights when they come around.